Okay, so we're going to review a little bit of the fraction information that we've gotten over the last couple of days, and then I'm going to add something to it. Okay, so two mixed numbers, two improper fractions. So 2 4/5 is a mixed number because it has a whole number and a fraction. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is multiply the denominator times the whole number. So in this case, 5 times 2, which equals 10. Then you're going to take the product of the whole number and denominator and add it to the numerator. So the product of the whole number and the numerator is added to the numerator. Whole number and denominator is added to the numerator. And this is going to become your new numerator. And then you just slide the denominator over. So for instance, 2 4/5. We said we multiply 5 times 2 and we get 10. All right? 2 times 5 is 10. So then we're going to take that 10 and we're going to add it to the 4, and that is 14. And the denominator stays 5. Okay? 3 4 6. 6 times 3 is 18. And then we're going to add 18 plus 4, which is 22. And the denominator slides over and stays 6. So in junior high, you'll hear it called Texas popcorn or around the world. So here's what it looks like. So 4 1/3. It's still the same process. It's just a matter of drawing the lines. 3 times 4 is 12. And then after we multiply 3 times 4, we're going to take that 12 and we're going to add it to the 1. 12 plus 1 equals 13. The denominator stays the same. That's 3. So if you look at it, it kind of does look like a little piece of popcorn. And then the plus sign and the X are Texas. TX, Texas popcorn. Okay? Or even around the world. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 4 is 19 over 5. Okay? Whatever you want to consider it, or however you want to think about it, it's fine with me. But as long as you remember that you are multiplying the denominator times the whole number, and then you're going to take that answer and add it to the numerator, and that becomes your new numerator, and then your denominator slides over. Okay? All right. Next, we're going to talk about improper fractions. Improper fractions to mixed numbers. To convert an improper fraction, you divide. Okay? And an improper fraction is a fraction that is bigger on top than it is on the bottom. So the numerator is larger than the denominator. To convert an improper fraction, you divide the top number divided by the bottom number. So that's where we get the TIBO. It stands for top in, bottom out. TIBO. Top in, bottom out. The top number is your dividend, and it goes on the inside of the house. The bottom number is the divisor, and it goes on the outside of the house. So 5 over 3, 5 on the inside, 3 on the outside, and then you divided it. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract 5 minus 3, and you get 2. Okay, 2 is the remainder, and it becomes the numerator. And the divisor, what you divided by, is your denominator. So 2 became the numerator, 3 is your denominator. So my answer is 1 2/3. So I had 1 whole and 2 out of 3 left over. So let's say I have the number 6/5. Okay, I'm going to top in, bottom out. So 6 divided by 5, 6 on the inside. 5 will go into 6 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. 6 minus 5 is 1. So when I divided, I have 1 left over. So I have 1 out of the 5 left over. Okay? So the 1 becomes the numerator, and the 5 is the denominator. 12/7. I'm going to do the same thing. 12 divided by 7. 7 will go into 12 one time. Subtract. 2 minus 7 doesn't work, so I have to borrow. That becomes a 0, and that becomes a 12. Okay, and you subtract, and you have 5 left over. 5 becomes my numerator. 7 is my denominator. So on the assignment that you have this week for improper and mixed numbers, it looked like this. You had a box, and then you had a line with a box above it and a box below it. Okay, that box to the left was for your whole number. The box above the line is your numerator, and the box below the line is your denominator. So this is what it looked like. Okay, that was on the section where you're converting improper fractions to mixed numbers. Okay, the box to the left of the line is your whole number. So one more time. If I'm going to take 14 and divide it by 6, 14 on the inside, 6 on the outside. 6 will go into 14 2 times. 2 times 6 is 12. 4 minus 2 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. So 2 becomes the numerator, and 6 is my denominator. Okay? Top in, bottom out. So top on the inside of the house, 6 on the outside of the house. And then you just divide. Whatever your remainder is becomes your numerator, and what you divided by becomes your denominator. Okay? All right, so we're going to move on to least common multiples. This is actually the first step in adding fractions with unlike denominators. So the first thing you're going to do is find the LCM. Okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to list the multiples for the two denominators. So whatever the denominators are of your two fractions, you're going to list the multiples. You're going to find all they have in common in the list. So you don't want to list all of them. You want to list about 6 or 7 places. And then more if needed, if you don't find any. Okay, but there's no sense in listing all of them because it'll take you forever and you'll never finish. Okay, you list 5, 6, 7 places. If you don't find a common multiple, you'll have to keep adding some. Okay, and I'll show you. And then the smallest one is the LCM. Okay, so the smallest number they both have in common. So when I say that, I mean both lists, okay? It's the smallest number both lists have in common. And I'm going to do the list a little bit different. So let's look. So let's say I have 1, 6, and 3/4. My two denominators are 6 and 4. So you can list them if you want. 6, 12, 18, 4, 8, 12, blah, blah, blah. You can keep going. Or you can do it in a tic-tac-toe board. And since tic-tac-toe boards seem to be super easy for y'all, I suggest you do the tic-tac-toe boards. Okay? So 6, 12, 18, 4, 8, 12. Look, as I'm going, I've already got one multiple that they have in common. Okay? They both have the number 12. You do not have to keep going once you find something they have in common. I said go 6 or 7 places, but that doesn't mean you will always go 6 or 7. Okay, in this case, I can stop. I have a 4 here, but there's no 4 here. I have an 8 here. There's no 8 over here, but I have a 12, and there's a 12. So the LCM is 12. Okay. What if I had the numbers 1/9 and 3/4? Okay, so we're going to do a tic-tac-toe board for 9 and 4. So on 9, if you know your 9s trick, that's the easiest way to do it. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then go back up, starting with 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now I can fill in my chart. Okay, and now I'm going to do my 4s. 4 plus 4 more is 8, plus 4 more is 12, plus 4 more is 16, and then 20, 24, 28, 32, and 36. So let's start. I have a 9. There's no 9. 18. There's no 18. 27. Nope. 36. 45. Nope. Nothing over 36, is there? Okay. I found, so here on the 9s, I only had to go 4. But here on the 4, I had to go 9 places. Okay. So it just really just depends. But I found a common multiple. The smallest number that they both have in common is 36. Okay. About 7 and 14. So I'm going to do a T-chart. I mean a tic-tac-toe board. I'm going to list my multiples of 7. 14. 21. Oh, I don't know where I went. 28. 35. 42. 49. 56. Okay, and now I'm going to list my multiples of 14. So 14, 10 more would be 28, right? Plus 14 more be 42. Plus 14 more be 84. Do I need to, I don't really need to keep going, do I? Okay. Because 14 is bigger than 7, so I know it's only going to take a few for me to get 7. So here's 7. There's no 7. 14. Yep, very first one, right? But let's look. 21. No. 28. Yep. 35. No. 42. So the common multiples are 14, 28, and 42. So see, I can get more than one. But the question is, which one is the least common multiple? The least common multiple is 14. So the LCM is 14. The smallest number both lists have in common. That's what you're looking for. The smallest number both lists or both tic-tac-toe boards have in common. That is your LCM. Okay? So that's the first step. We have to find the common multiple. After you find a common multiple, you're going to make equivalent fractions. So with equivalent fractions, you have to know. What do you know? What is it? What do you see? Then will you multiply or will you divide? And then whatever you do to one, you do to the other. All right. So for instance, say I have 3/4 equals something over 12. What do I know? I know 4 equals 12. Okay? I know that 4 is equal to 12. And I know that 4 is smaller than 12, so I'm going to multiply. 4 times 3 equals 12. So now, whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top, because whatever I do to one, I do to the other. So I'm going to have to come to the numerator and do times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So 3/4 is equivalent to 9/12. 1/3 equals something over 9. I know that 3 equals 9. That's the fact. Okay, 3 goes into 9 3 times, so that means I'm multiplying it by 3. So I'm going to have to multiply the numerator by 3. 1 times 3 equals 3. So that means 1/3 is equivalent to 3/9. Okay, 5/7 equals something over 21. 7 goes into 21 because 7 equals 21. That's what I know. I know it's going to go in there 3 times. So 7 times 3 is 21. Whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do to the numerator. So times 3. 5 times 3 is 15. So 5/7 is equivalent to 15/21. Okay. 2/4 equals something over 16. Okay, 4 goes into 16 4 times, because I know 4 equals 16. Times 4, 4 times 4 is 16, so I have to times 4 up here. On the numerator, 2 times 4 is 8. 8/16. Okay, so all you're doing is looking at what we know, and each time we knew that the denominators equaled each other. See how much they go up, so what you need to multiply by, and notice it's always multiplication. There can be division when you're reducing the fraction. So let's look at a quick reducing. What if I have 12/14? I know, because they're both even, that 2 is going to go into both of those numbers, so I'm going to divide by 2. 2 will go into 12 6 times. 6 times 2 is 12. 2 will go into 14, or 14 will go into 2. 14 divided by 2. 2 will go into 14 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. Well, 6/7 is a reduced answer because 6 and 7 don't have any numbers in common. Okay, what about 9/18? That's not an even over an even, right? But I know the number 3 goes into both of those numbers. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 3. 3 will go into 9 3 times. 3 will go into 18 6 times. Okay, but now I look at 3/6 and I say, I think 3 goes into 6, doesn't it? And 3 obviously goes into 3. So I could probably go down again. 3 will go into 3 once. 6 will go into 3 will go into 6 2 times. Okay? Or you can have 9/18 and go, 9 goes into 18, doesn't it? So you can divide the top and bottom by 9. 9 goes into 9 1. 9 goes into 18 twice. Okay? So all I did is reduce the fractions by dividing what I know they have in common. We will get into this later. So this is not super, like, you have to do today. This is just information I wanted you to have, okay? Because we're talking about equivalent fractions. And that's what we're doing when we reduce. We're making equivalent fractions. We're just making them smaller, okay? So we're finding things that they have in common. The problem with this one up here is once I reduced it, I had to reduce it again. Because you can see that 3 and 6 are the same, can go into each other. Or 3 can go into 6. So that's why you want to look for the biggest one they have. okay? But we'll talk more about this later, so don't worry about this. You do need to focus on equivalent fractions, so multiply. All right, so now the new part of the notes is adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. The first thing you're going to do is find the LCM, which is what we've done. Step 2, use the LCM to make equivalent fractions. We've done that. Step 3, add or subtract. Now you have like denominators. Step 4, make sure it's a proper fraction. Reduce if you can by making equivalent fractions, which is dividing, which is what we just talked about. But it's like, again, I'm not going to be focused on that. I'm just showing you so you know. All right, so let's make a fraction. How about 2 over 12 and 4 over 6? And we're going to add those fractions. I'm going to put a little equal sign because we're going to have to make new fractions. Because these have unlike denominators, you cannot add them. You cannot add when you don't have like denominators. So we're going to take our two fractions and we're going to make a tic-tac-toe board so that we can find common denominators. 12, 24, 36. 12 is a bigger number, so I'm going to stop there, and we're going to do 6. 6, 12, 18. Okay, just looking at the three numbers, there's already one number that they both have in common. The 12. Okay? All right, so my LCM, which is what we've already been practicing, is 12. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to make my two denominators equal to 12 because now I have common denominator. Well, 12 equals 12, right? 12 is 12. So that means 2 is going to be 2. 6 equals 12. Well, 6 and 12 are different numbers, so how do I make 6 equal 12? Times 2, right? So now I'm going to do the same to the top. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. Times 2. 4 times 2 equals 8. So now we're going to add. And when you learned last year, when you add fractions with like denominators, all you add is the numerator. So 2 plus 8 equals 10. And my denominator is 12. 10 twelfths. Okay, so that's a proper fraction. Okay, but if you want to reduce it, I want you to try. If you can reduce, 10 and 12 are both even. So I know that 10 and 12 both have the number 2 in common. 2 will go into 10 5 times. 2 will go into 12 6 times. So 10 over 12 is 5/6. Okay, so I reduced it, but again, I'm not going to count it off if you don't reduce it. It's okay. I'm just showing you at this point. Later on, I will count off for not reducing. Okay? All right, so let's do some more practice. 1/2 and 1/10. So I'm going to put equals and draw my fraction bar because we're going to make new fractions. My two denominators are 2 and 10. So 10, 20, 30. Since 10 is the biggest number, I'm going to stop there. And I'm going to do my 2's. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. All right. Well, 10 ends in a 0, right? So 10, 20, 30. So the only place that I have a 0 on my 2's is the 10. So that means the LCM is going to be 10. So I'm going to come over to my new fractions, and I'm going to make 10 my common denominator. Okay? I see that 10 equals 10, and 1 equals 1. Because this is the same fraction. 2 equals 10 by multiplying it by 5. So I'm going to times 5 up here. 1 times 5 is 5. And then we're going to add our numerators. 5 plus 1 is 6. Denominator is 10. Okay. Now look, if I do 3/4 minus 2/3. I'm going to make a T-chart for 4. A tic-tac-toe board for 4 and a tic-tac-toe board for 3. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and 18. Okay, so now we're going to find the LCM. 4, nope, no 4. 8, no 8. 12, there's a 12. 16, no. 20, no. 24, no. So the smallest number they both have in common is the 12. So I'm going to come over to my problem and I'm going to make new fractions with 12 as my denominator. Okay, so I look at my two denominators and I made tic-tac-toe boards and found the least common multiple. I made that least common multiple my new denominator. So both fractions, because I know 4 goes into 12 and 3 goes into 12. Okay. Now I'm going to make equivalent fractions. I know 4 equals 12. So here's my 4 board. That's 1, 2, 3. 4 times 3 equals 12. So then I have to do the same to the numerator. 3 times 3. 3 times 3 equals 9. Okay, 2/3 equals something over 12. I know 3 equals 12. So I come over to my tic-tac-toe board. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means 3 times 4 equals 12. So my numerator, I have to multiply by 4. 2 times 4 equals 8. So now I have 3/4 equals 9/12. That's an equivalent fraction. And 2/3 equals 8/12. That's an equivalent fraction. Now I'm going to subtract. And again, we only subtract the numerators. 9 minus 8 is 1. And my denominator stays the same. It's 12. Okay. Sorry, someone tapped on my door when I was doing this one and I lost my train of thought. If you went back and if you reduced this one, they both have the number 2 in common. So you can divide the top and bottom by 2. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. Okay, so 6/10 is 3/5. 1/12 is the exact same. I mean, it's as small as it's going to go. So we don't have to do anything to it. Okay, let's do another one. 4/9 minus 1/3. Okay, so my two denominators are 9 and 3. So I'm going to make tic-tac-toe boards for 3 and 9. 9, 18, 27. The bigger number you don't have to go so many places on because you want to do just a couple and then do the smaller number. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Okay, and I can stop there because there's no 3 or 6 on this board, but they both do have a 9, don't they? Okay, so that means your LCM, the smallest number they both have in common, is the 9. Okay, and what that means, again, it's the smallest number both tic-tac-toe boards have in common is the 9. So that means I'm going to come over and make my equivalent fractions with 9 as my denominator. Okay, 9 equals 9. So that means 4 is going to equal 4. That fraction stays the same. 3 equals 9. That's times 3. So then I have to do 1 times 3. Because whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 1 times 3 equals 3. And then we're subtracting. So we're going to subtract your numerators. 4 minus 3 is 1. And your denominator stays the same.